Hello and what's up, Scrollies listener? You're here for a very special episode. I hope you're ready to airwalk into a conversation with our guest, hear and grind to hear about SqatCobblr and his views, and most of all, we're going to do a board slide into your heart. I guarantee by the end of this episode, you're going to be moved, touched, maybe even cry a little bit. I am, of course, Team Ratnado of the Scrollies podcast. I'm here with my co-host.
How's it going, bodacious listeners? Radical. We got a extreme topic today with a super groovy guest. Does that sound 90s? Not really, but it's a word I just thought of.
I thought that was more surfer than anything, Squat, but I agree. I get the.
What's the difference? We're talking like an offshoot on the same family tree that is long objects that you move upon without any motorized assistance.
Boards. That's how we like to classify things. Just how you move on boards on different forms of water and land, right?
And frozen water, I guess, as well.
Yeah, exactly. We're going to get straight to it. A long-time Scrollies listener, first time. Truly, I think one of our biggest supporters, someone I'm a huge fan of, our guest today, MaineTater _89.
Let's go!
Hello. Well, and yes, I do consider myself a top listener. I always listen to see in every episode how many shout-outs am I going to get. I know it's a great week when I hear my name twice in one episode. So that's a great episode.
Sometimes 3 whole times. Well, we know MaineTater's there.
We know he's listening.
Let's throw him another bone.
We know he's got he's opened up the podcast. He's probably working. He's got us on that second ear. He's working on the spreadsheets and we're listening.
And he's cataloging the stoofers and checking the boxes. Yep. Okay. Mainstream brand. Oh, look at that. Squat bought all of them.
Oh, stoofers. Maine, you really are the antithesis of Eggy Carton, who has only listened to one podcast in his life. And you've listened to, like, every episode. So, number one, I just want to say thank you. Thank you for supporting us. It's always a treat when you engage with the topic, and I'm just like, oh, yeah, great.
Yes. I'm excited to be here. It's a fun time, and I love all the guests you've had so far, and it's just an honor to be considered amongst one of them as well.
Yeah, we've been actually, Squat, we've been like... as we always say with most of our guests, it's a hard legal battle to do it, but we always get you eventually.
Just getting a hold of Zach, you got to pass through so much red tape. But we finally got him. We finally got him on here. We're real limited on time, so we're going to make the most of it while we have him.
Yes. I have a good friend of mine who's a lawyer who's willing to do anything I need to at any given point in time. So I know from a legal perspective, I'm always covered. But I'm here. We're good. All the paperwork's been signed. And we'll keep it simple and clean today.
Oh, simple and clean. MaineTater being one of the bigger Kingdom Hearts fans that I know, at least. And I know that Nova Leia's probably got something for you to do right after this, so we'll keep it tight. Today, we're talking about a genre very near and dear to most millennials' heart. Squat, I'm interested to hear your perspective on this. I hope this isn't
being
another
cast out of the millennial category off the bat, man. And the 89ers. Well, this is the episode of the 89ers. The 96ers don't get a say,
and they're ready to dominate.
I asked Squat what some related to our theme today. Some questions about Tony Hawk. What is your favorite number of wheels on an unmotorized, standing only form of transportation?
Ooh, my favorite, I think, is probably 2. For if you're talking just like if I'm going outside and I'm riding it. I love the video game, but I can never really master myself personally on a skateboard. I was more the scooter, which is the 2. I did a lot of time on a scooter. Never really did a lot of time on a skateboard, mainly because I wasn't really any good.
Yeah, fair.
Fantastic. Ratnado, how about yourself?
Something that you stand. You know what? I think there's a couple different ways we could go, but I'm going to just stick with 4 because I wasn't like the best at it, but there was a point in my life where I did like to skate. Unfortunately, the small Utah town where I'm from had very few places to actually skate, so it made it pretty difficult to actually do it. So up until eventually I started getting into longboards, which have much bigger wheels, are much wider out, and I was able to actually kind of get around on that. That was more for just like getting around.
2 and 4, I can't say I'm not surprised, but I am a little disappointed. Fortune favors the bold gentleman, and let me just say the only correct answer to this question is 1 per foot. That's right. I'm talking Heelys, the shoes with wheels built into them. Young Squat's most desired footwear. Not only did they allow him to cruise around in style, but they also added a couple inches of height so he could get on the roller coasters he wouldn't otherwise be able to ride. And I still have the scar to prove
Bless
it.
you, Heelys.
Did that work? The roller coaster thing? How many did that work?
Oh yeah.
They wouldn't look down and be like, "You're not really standing still."
Oh well, no, I was standing still. They just had really thick soles, Zach. They were
Okay,
like
I see
2
what you
inches
mean.
thick.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I measured.
That made sense, but they did like it was. They thought it was kind of weird when he slid by it
Wait, what's going on here?
without moving.
Hey! I'll just relate it to a '90s reference for you millennials there, which I guess I'm not part of. It's like a moonwalk, except you don't actually have to move your feet.
Hey.
Yeah, moonwalk on easy.
Well, I was gonna say because Squat. I think you're a zillennial. I think you are a prime zillennial. So that's why I'm asking is because I don't know if I don't know your experience with it.
Why don't you go ahead and ask the icebreaker you wanted to ask all along, Ratnado? I have an answer for that.
Okay, here we go. Here's the question now. What is your favorite Tony Hawk song, and which game is it from?
What is my favorite Tony Hawk song? So the songs I'm most familiar with are from the first game, Tony Hawk Pro Skater. And I'm gonna give the squad entry here the basic answer, which is Superman, which is from the first game, which is I mean it's so great, right? I don't know if you saw, I think it was recently. I don't know when the concert was. Goldfinger, who sings Superman, have been bringing Tony Hawk on their tour. And he's been singing the song, and there's a bunch of YouTube videos you can watch where Tony Hawk is singing Superman, which is just great to see. Just great to see because everyone in the crowd knows what's going to happen. Everyone knows what the video game is, and it's just it's a great time.
That's incredible. Yeah, exactly. I kind of agree. I agree there. I think I have a second runner up because I think that's most people's. I remember in 2021 or something when things kind of started opening back up. I saw on TikTok that there was this band that they're exclusively covering Tony Hawk, anything in a Tony Hawk, and it might even been Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1, and that was it. They came in, they played the set list, and that was it. SqatCobblr, what about you?
Well, naturally, I'll have to go with my all-time favorite from my most played childhood Tony Hawk game, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2, the Game Boy Color version.
Oh.
Unfortunately, there aren't track listings for these, so I'll just have to go with what I know near and dear to my heart, BGM track number 4.
Yeah,
you'll be hearing that
Facts.
I will say one song
really good.
that's not really my favorite, but I associate most with the game is Jerry Was a Race Car Driver. If I hear that song, I think of the game. The song itself is fine. It's just kind of, Jerry is a race car driver. I don't really know the words. It kind of blurs in the background. But
well, careful there. We don't want to get DMCA'd.
that was really close. Squat, no, 100%. What's funny is I also have that.
The Game Boy Color
I have
version.
Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 on Game Boy Color.
There you go.
I also have it. So when you say that, I can already imagine the in my head as well.
Precisely. See, there's more overlap here than we thought. The 7-year difference isn't vast enough of a span of time to not have the overlap that is Tony Hawk.
Yeah. I feel like there is, exactly. But I do feel like there is some point where suddenly people don't know, kids these days don't know Tony Hawk and the absolute hold it had over everything. So I apologize, SqatCobblr. I wasn't trying to shut you out. I just didn't know because I remember that there was a legit 4 or 5 years of my life in middle school to high school where everything was about skateboarding and skate culture and pop punk culture. And that's what led us here. I mean, Zach, you wanted to talk about Tony Hawk's Pro Skater. Maybe you can give us a little rundown about your background with
Yeah, so for my own personal background, when I first started playing Tony Hawk Pro Skater, it was one of the first games I played on PlayStation. Prior to that, I had been both mostly playing Super Nintendo, which had Mario, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and then of course Donkey Kong, classic. And then I also had the handheld Game Boy Color. But when I moved, personally, I moved out to Washington State. I was living there. I'd been living in MaineTater, living in Maine my entire life. I moved out to Washington State, and before I moved out there, there was really two things I was concerned about. One is this story I tell, which is that one, I was very concerned about, does McDonald's exist there, right? Because we had McDonald's in Maine, and I'm like, is this like a local chain that have they gotten to Washington yet? You know, like I was reassured they'd be there. But then the other thing I was concerned about was, do they know what Pokemon is? And of course, they know what Pokemon is. But when we got there, I got a PlayStation. I was sort of moved there around 2000. The PlayStation had just come out, and it was one of the games that I had on it. And so there were some other games that had nothing that was memorable, but it was definitely one of those games that, like, you're playing it and it really grabs your attention. I mean, it's a lot of fun to play. It's interesting. You read about, when they were making the game itself. It's really just meant to be fun, right? Like, they did a lot of stuff with actual skateboards. Be like, what would a skateboarder want in a game? And so the mechanics of the game itself are really fun. And what I found later in life, what I really liked about the game is, really, you're just looking to maximize points at all points in time, right? You're trying to make moves, you're trying to do skills in order to sort of maximize points. It's one of the first things in my life where I was really looking at numbers, really looking at how are you sort of, figuring out what's the right angles to take, what are the right tricks to take, right? What's the most optimal trick? What's the most optimal place in the game to really beat the game, to really look at it from a numbers perspective. And it's really grabbed my attention a lot in that ways. And I mean, it's just a lot of fun to play.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, geez, I remember, like, I think I might have been like 5th or 6th grade, and we got a Nintendo 64, so it might have been even a little bit later than that. But I remember for Christmas, we got like Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1. And it just like blew my mind, the openness of it, and like everything you could do. Number one, Nintendo 64 already opened up into like the huge world of 3D. And then you added that. And like a prepubescent Ratnado, ready to become a tween, ready to become a teen who's very concerned about image and being cool and being an adult. That hit maybe for you at the exact same moment where it was like, this is now my identity.
Fortunately for MaineTater, he wasn't ashamed to play Kingdom Hearts and have his dad see him playing with Donald Duck.
I will say, in terms of my identity, I think it was appropriate that you started off with the question about music, because prior to that, for the most part, all the songs I had listened to were just like what my parents listened to, which was mostly like pop music and country music, and then Bruce Springsteen, which is my dad. My first concert was Bruce Springsteen. But that was the first time I really listened to like sort of, rock, punk, that type of music. And I was like, this is the best thing I've ever heard, which ultimately led to really what my genre of music in high school was, which was rock, which was Disturbed, Korn, Breaking Benjamin, System of a Down, that type of, it was really directly from this game. That's really where the part of the identity, like I said, I never really skateboarded much, and I like the video game aspect of it, but the music, definitely, it was the first time that I really heard that, and really going on, was what I ended up really sticking to. And then I ended up staying with PlayStation because I just found that platform worked well, which is what then led me to then Kingdom Hearts and Final Fantasy and those types of games, which was, I didn't really own a Nintendo system until the Switch, which we just got like this year. So it really moved me away from Nintendo because it was on the PlayStation, although it was on other platforms as well.
SqatCobblr, you basically started this with Game Boy as well. I'm guessing Game Boy Color was a kind of a... When did you start to get into it? Like, when was this?
Technically, I played it on the Game Boy Advance, but it was the color cart. So, thanks backwards compatibility.
Advanced color.
I mean, in all honesty, I guess sort of an offshoot of the skater genre is a snowboarding genre. I was a lot more into the winter sports games. growing up, I'd say. But 1080, Shaun White snowboarding, all that's kind of in the same vein, I feel like, as Tony Hawk. But I definitely hear what you're saying about the cultural moment in time. I wasn't quite the same. Wasn't quite at the same phase of life as you. I was firmly in elementary school, where I had no qualms at all about my image being one that may be slightly uncool. I mean, we are talking about DK Revolutionist 2004 era squat. So before that, yeah, sure, skater bro, why not? Had a lot of friends that were into skateboarding, had a lot of friends that were into rollerblading, all that kind of stuff. BMX, exports, that whole thing. Nonetheless, for myself, yeah, it was more winter sports, so can't quite claim the skater bro cred as far as gaming goes. But like I said, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 2 on the Game Boy Color, a 2D system that was trying to emulate, that was trying to imitate the 3D style of the PlayStation games with a isometric view. So you could still pull off your ollies, your 360s, your grinds, but nonetheless, a pretty different experience.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Absolutely.
No, actually, a fun fact is at this same time while I was first playing Tony Hawk Pro Skater and learning that, was also the same time I learned chess and started playing that a lot more. So those were really the two things I was doing at that point in time, between Tony Hawk Pro Skater, chess, and then Yu-Gi-Oh! That was like my identity at that point in time. So there's a lot going on there.
These are like core experiences that have shaped you for decades to come.
I was gonna say that is like kind of your brand a little bit. I didn't know about the Yu-Gi-Oh, but oh my gosh, yeah. I think I mean the reason I'm not trying to I'm not trying to single you out, but I do think that it is like there is
certainly
something about
have
that
a
time.
different experience with this span of time than you two did. I will not deny that. But I was there for it.
Yeah, no, I get you. I don't know where you were at musically, but what you said, Maine, it rings so true to me. That was the start of basically my music taste for the rest of my life up to now. That's where I got into punk. That's where I got into ska. A lot of like new metal that was starting to like get
Mighty Boss Tones,
and all of those genres, and all like even Goldfinger, they're ska. They have a lot of ska stuff. And all those genres now are very like, rock, punk, all those stuff. They're not mainstream.
No, they're definitely not as much. It's not like, you can at that time you could like turn on like a pop station. Every like rock band had their like mostly hardcore songs, and they'd have like a ballad that would make it onto the pop stations, and they would play it. You don't really hear that as much. For the most part, if you're on a pop station, you're just playing pop.
Exactly. I thought it was funny that the question that Squat asked, I didn't even know you were going to go with like a unicycle. I was like, I saw that and I was like, well, I'm going to make the joke as well about scooters. But how big exports and like extreme stuff was at that time that there was even like a scooter, like an extreme scooter video game. I don't know if you guys have seen that before.
I have not.
Ratnado, I am shocked that we're talking skateboarding games and we don't bring up your favorite game of all time, Metal Gear Solid 2 Subsistence.
Oh!
Was it Subsistence or Sustenance?
No, Squat, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. You are 100% right.
No, but to get back to your point you were talking about, sort of like that point in time and how it felt, I think there's an XKCD comic that sort of, to me at least, exemplifies really what it is, which is, it's very simple. There's a picture and there's that sticker, at least that I saw a lot. They see people put up, skateboarding is not a crime, right? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And anyway, the comic is just,
of course.
When I'm president, skateboarding still won't be a crime, but putting up this sticker will be punishable from life to death, Because you just saw it everywhere. That was like the mentality people had when they were into skateboarding. But of course, it becomes so popular that it was kind of annoying. It's like, yeah, maybe in like the 90s, this was like, this is only your thing. But like I saw somewhere that when they released Pro Skater 4, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1, 2, and 3 were still on the top 10 selling games like at that year. Like they just kept selling. Like they were so popular. So kind of, but lots of people were like, no, this is counterculture. But it becomes so mainstream. It was kind of going beyond that. It was like, no, it's a little much. Like everyone does that at this point. Like.
It's not. Yeah, it's so mainstream that it's yeah, exactly.
Now, with millennial nostalgia coming back in full force, gentlemen, these games, Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1, 2, and 3, I want to say, they are no longer just a relic of a bygone era. They have been remade. Have either of you played the remakes that came out not too long ago?
I have not personally played it myself. Although I have news to break. I like to break news on the Those Girlies podcast. I do plan on playing it on stream. On
oh my gosh,
twitch.tv/MaineTater_89. I literally posted on the schedule surprise stream. So if people saw it on the schedule, like, I don't know what this is going to be. If they listen to this podcast, they'll know it's going to be Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2, the re-release.
Oh my gosh, a sneak peek came in the form of an early plug? I'm hyped. Let's go.
It's not just the game. Novalet is actually going to be following around MaineTater with a camera while he skateboards.
He's actually going to skateboard around the neighborhood again.
Oh gosh, yeah. To answer your question, Squat, yes, I got. I believe it was 2020 is when the remake for it's like Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 plus 2.
Oh yeah, it was only the first two. Gotcha.
Yeah. They might have added more. I'm not sure. TBH, I've only played it like twice since then. But on Christmas Day, I remember I was on a phone call with my family for like 6 or 7 hours. And we were just hanging out, and I was just playing Tony Hawk while we talked and hung out. And I got pretty far into 1. But geez, I don't know if they changed it a lot, but I was so bad at it. And I was like, I was really good at this as a kid, like really good. I could unlock everything, and I'm like having to replay them over and over. And so I don't know if the physics got better or if like they were like, actually, you know what? Let's not make this bonkers crazy. You can break the game so easy. I played it. I thought it was real. I really enjoyed it. And I mean, not enough to keep playing.
I guess. I mean, there's a lot of games and a lot of time needed to be as good as Final Fantasy 14 as you are. So
ain't that the truth?
all of his skills from other genres are just being sucked away and invested into Final Fantasy 14.
Squat, have you ever thought about playing another one after the Game Boy, or is that kind of like, are you done? How do you feel about the genre now? Because it's just such a weird.
Here's the elephant in the room. I'm pretty bad at these kind of games. So even though I did play the Game Boy Color version as a kid, I didn't play it for very long because it was just bad. I couldn't keep the combos up.
Yeah.
That being said, I do tend to sway more towards the winter sports, like I've said. So maybe I'll give the skateboarding games another try. But I feel like there are far more winter sports games that interest me than the skateboarding.
Are you like Snowboard Kids? Is that do you play that?
Snowboard Kids?
On 64?
Oh, no.
Snowboard Kids?
No, Sean White's snowboarding and then 1080.
You got to give it a try.
Snowboard Kids.
Try on Nintendo 64, it's Snowboard Kids.
I'm adding that to the list.
I want to give a quick shout out as well, really quick, to Papa Warstaff. I remember like that was pretty formative in our friendship. At the time, my best friend was his cousin, and I was hanging out with him. And through them, Warstaff and I started hanging out. And I had bought Tony Hawk's Underground, and I remember I let them borrow it. Like he was hanging out, he was just doing his thing, Warstaff, and we were like friends at that point. You know, this is 2-3 years into being friends. But I remember there was like an entire like winter and spring where he played that like every day for like a couple hours, and I would just go over there and we'd just play it and sit there. And who knows, maybe Warstaff and I wouldn't be as strong of friends as we are now without Tony Hawk.
Incredible friendship.
The man, the myth, the legend, Papa Warstaff, El Papa Dulce, Primo. Man, Tony Hawk, you know, you may not recognize him on the street, but we gotta, you know, give him the respect that's due, not only for his skating abilities, but also for being the linchpin in the Warstaff Ratnado friendship.
Yeah, ask him about that, you know. Ask him what his favorite level is on Tony Hawk's Underground. I don't know if he still has it. I don't know if he gave it back to me, but I should go find out.
maybe you've held on to it all this time and then gaslit him that it was yours, just like Shraxa to her friends.
Wait, am I the B or the Shraxa in this dynamic?
Evidently, it wasn't B Rena. I thought it was. I didn't know Shraxa had other friends, but of someone else.
Got her.
Zing!
Oh my gosh. And with that, oh my goodness.
So I think what was interesting, I was looking a little bit about the history of the game itself, in terms of how it was made. We talked about how it sort of created this culture, right? What's interesting is the fact that prior to the game being released, Tony Hawk wasn't real. I mean, people knew Tony Hawk was, but not really. He didn't have quite as much. And what I didn't know is that he was actually working on a game himself. Like, he was like personally like trying to make a game. And Activision came to him and was like, "Hey, we've got these drawings. You're Tony Hawk. You're probably the most, most famous, skater. Do you want to join on?" And when he saw what the game looked like, he was like, "Oh yes, this is much better than anything I could do. I've got to hop in on this." But the one thing was, they went to this arcade and they saw like racing type games. When they at that point decided it can't be a time thing, which I know a lot of like the winter games are like that, right? Can't get down the hill, certain amount of speed. They made that decision that it had to be a game that was more focused on what skaters would actually do. And I know this. I hung out with a bunch of skaters. You're not trying to do races, right? You're not trying to go as fast as you can down the street. I had friends that really they'd spend a lot of time just trying to do a move, right? I want to do an ollie, I want to do a kickflip, I want to do whatever the move is that they're trying to land. And they would just spend all this time, and they're really focused on landing the move. And that was what the game was based upon, right? What were skaters actually trying to do, which was different from a lot of the games that were made prior, which were either based upon trying to make a challenging video game, which was better mechanically from a video game perspective, but not any fun, or like just it's a race, didn't really understand what they were, people that actually skateboard tried to do. So this game really got a fine line between those two things, which is sort of why I was able to become as popular as it was.
My favorite times in that game and what I enjoy most is to get on free skate, get some good music, build myself a nice playlist, and just vibe out, hang out, listen to good music, and try to do some tricks. So I think they nailed it.
I mean, there's a reason why like someone like Warstaff would want to play it every day, is because it's not like, okay, you beat it and then you're just doing the same thing. Because in a sense, there's almost an unlimited amount of ways you can win, basically, right? Because you can do different tricks and go to different locations. So you think about the combinations of the number of possibilities, it's almost unlimited. And so it becomes this easy repeat game, which is why people would buy it 3 or 4 years later. And then with all these other factors, okay, I want to play the game with this music, I want to play the game with whatever. I mean, there's a reason why people would want to buy all these games versus some games where, okay, I can just play the first game and then no reason to move on to the next one.
Truly captured the heart and soul of a generation, of a point in time, of a moment. And we all carry it on that lived through it. Some to this day, others, as a happy memory. But nonetheless, Tony Hawk Pro Skater, MaineTater, it's living on. And we can re-experience that soon on your stream.
Yes.
I look forward to tuning in for that. I consider it an honor that it was here on Scrollies that was announced.
There's nowhere else I'd want to make the announcement. I'll plug it one more time, twitch.tv/MaineTater_89. Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday nights. That's when you can watch all the great content. And I will see you there.
Thanks so much for doing this. Thanks for being on MaineTater. You're gonna hear your name a lot in this when you're listening to it. So you should be very happy.
I can get the counter. Yeah, oh man, another one.
Yeah, great to have you, MaineTater. We've been talking about having you on for a long time, and we finally made it happen. He's in hot demand, everyone. He's the up-and-coming chess world champion, but soon to be skateboarding simulator champion as well.
Thanks so much, MaineTater. I am Team Ratnado. Hey, Fiber's coming soon. Who knows when? Team Ratnado, you can check me out. Lots of stuff going on with the Choo Choo Boys. We're doing extreme and savage raids. Internet only works for those, it seems like. And of course, here with the co-host with the most, the Monkey Man, the the Let's Player.
Let's play some more Mario and Rabbids. It's going through the game onto World 3. We started that just a little bit ago, and I'm making my way through it now. Probably my most favorite world in the game. that's pretty fun. But yeah, we're getting through that, and after that, who knows? Who knows what could be awaiting in the future for the SqatCobblr YouTube? But I'm happy to be doing it. Happy to be here on Scrollies, and I'm a millennial. I promise. I was told my whole life I was. It's only in the last few years I've been told I'm not.
All right, we'll see you all next week. And Squat is a millennial. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.